We got a special guest with us today. Washington quarterback commit Dash Beierly joins the show.
You are Locked On Huskies, your daily podcast on the Washington Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back in to another edition of the Locked On Huskies podcast. I'm Roman Tomashoff. That's Lars Hanson. And with us today, as we said in the opener, we've got three-star quarterback and Washington commit Dash Beierly, who's getting ready for his senior year down at Mater Dei High School. And just a quick reminder to everybody that this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. You can post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dash, we're going to have some fun here. We're going to jump right into it. For all the everydayers out there who maybe, aren't super into the recruiting scene, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Three-year starter right now. I played at Chaparral for my first 3 years. Great school. I love that program. Coach Emmer does a really good job. I'm a quarterback and big fan of Huskies. Coach Fisch. I've been following him for so long, and he always does a great job and treats me like family and that whole staff. And this is a place where I want to be, and I'm glad to be in this, have this opportunity. And now I'm at Mater Dei, so I'm gonna try my best and continue that legacy.
That's awesome. So you were committed to Coach Fisch at Arizona.
Right.
And you were the first guy to follow him when he took the job at Washington. What was it about your relationship with him and quarterbacks coach Jimmy Doherty and just the coaching staff that made you want to do that?
Yeah, that situation, I was a little conflicted because there was a lot going on at the time with that big switch. But they had a couple days to figure out what was going on with Washington, who was going, who was staying. But once they moved, Doherty came to my school and he came talk to me and said he had the same exact morals that he has from Arizona to Washington, and that's all I needed to hear. And I mean, Fisch, he's the man on the mission. He does a great job. He's a great head coach, and the staff is a big reason why I went with Washington and continue with those guys.
You mentioned that Coach Fisch is on a mission. Expand on that. I'm intrigued. How did you sense like that mission? Because I know you were recruited by them for a couple of years prior to your commitment. So just right. Where did you get that sense that Coach Fisch is really on that hunt?
I mean, if you just saw what he did at Arizona, I mean, turning a team that was 2-9 to one of the best teams in the Pac-12. I mean, that takes a lot, especially with that recruiting class, and he did a great job with that recruiting class. So I think he's here at Washington to chase a national championship, which you guys almost did last year, and I think he'll be able to do that.
So when it comes to Coach Fisch's offense, it's something that was super impressive. It was one of the best in the Pac-12 last year. What are some of the things that, as a quarterback specifically, that draw you to that offense?
I mean, he loves to sling the ball. I mean, I went over with some plays with Doherty, and he just, he like showed me everything I need to know, and they love to throw the ball, and very explosive offense. That's what I've seen. Very explosive.
And when you look at when with that type of quarterback play, when did they start recruiting you? Just how deep does that relationship go back to? Can you recall your first time meeting Coach Doherty or Coach Fisch?
Gosh, I mean, it was, I want to say the end of my sophomore year, and it was like it might have been the end of my freshman year, start of my sophomore year. Arizona was my third offer at the time. So yeah, I think it was right before my sophomore season. He came to my school, watched me throw, and he liked me and showed some interest.
So that was something that Lars and I were having a discussion about a little bit earlier this week, is some of the early offers, like with Champ Taulele, as we record this on Thursday, who committed earlier today. He was the same thing where Arizona was his second or third offer. Is that something that just kind of means a little bit extra to you when they're maybe not always the first, but one of the first schools to take a chance on you, not only have a chance to develop that relationship for a lot longer, but just knowing that so early on, they're willing to say, yeah, we want to bet on you?
Yeah, I mean, it's great, like it kind of means a lot more when it's the first couple, because that's when they first look at you and they're first interested in you, I believe. And some guys get offers because they already have offers from other schools, but when you're like that first couple offer or that first couple interests, it really means a lot. And that's kind of what I felt with Arizona.
And then you didn't take a visit prior to committing to Washington. So what was it really just all about the relationship that you had and knowing that I'm sure wherever you would end up going, wherever those two coaches ended up, that you would like the school that you were at? Was it really kind of just not a blind faith that you had in them, but for lack of a better phrase, I guess, is that how you would characterize it?
It wasn't exactly super blind. I mean, I know I never took a visit to Washington. I went to a game last season. I went to the Oregon-Washington game. That was a great game. But that definitely kind of showed my liking for that. And yeah, I mean, I know that those guys are a big piece of the puzzle for me, especially. And I mean, Washington's one of the best places to play. I believe that stadium, that environment is just awesome.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that game? Sorry, Lars. I want to make sure that we touched on that, because for Lars and I both, that was such an awesome memory. Like, we were there at game day, doing the whole thing just throughout that entire day for the Oregon game. What did that mean to you to not only be there to witness just what ended up being a fantastic game, of course, but just the whole environment of that game itself?
I mean, shoot, it all started when I got there. I mean, I had to park a couple neighborhoods down the street because there was no parking. That's how many people showed up. And I mean, it was just loud, just super loud, just really good community. The whole state loves that team. And yeah, it was really good community, and got a cool like game day kind of experience. Got to see some of the players warming up and running out of that tunnel. And it was really cool. Yeah.
And obviously you'd had to have some sort of relationship with the prior staff. How deep did the former staff get with you? Because obviously they wanted you to come up for a game, or was it something with your team that you came up for, or was it the coach that wanted you to come up?
Yeah, so yeah, they were interested in me for a while when they offered me, and I was interested as well. So it was after one of my games last season, but I wanted to come up and kind of see what it was like, and it was I was impressed by that environment and that experience.
So now that you kind of have gotten that whole experience, that's something that, are you going to be coming up for any games this fall? And do you kind of start to picture yourself in that atmosphere right now when it's sold out, now that you know what it's like?
Oh, and I don't know, it's like, I'm going to have to get used to that noise, but yeah, I definitely picture myself in that environment, and definitely going to try and make some games for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Dash, we're going to keep going with you, but we're going to take a quick break real fast.
All good.
And we're going to send a message to our good friends over at LinkedIn, because when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free, because LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In any given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. You can hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. That's why LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the hiring process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockdowncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockdowncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
So Dash, that leads us into a perfect segue where you did make a return trip. I don't know if did you make an unofficial? Because I know you made the official visit at the end of May for their Washington's first big recruiting weekend. Take us through, just from your point of view, what did that look like? Because we've seen a little bit of fruits of the labor. We haven't exactly gotten to see all of it yet, but just take us through, because unfortunately the media, we don't get to see what it looks like for you guys. So what was that experience like in Seattle?
I mean, it was overall a great experience, throughout the whole weekend. I mean, they treated me so nice, and it was cool to see the facilities and the campus because I only came for a game, so I never got to see that kind of side of, the program. And, I mean, the weekend that I went, I'd say probably some of the best weather that they've had in a while. And it was, I mean, I don't think you can beat that place anywhere else in the world when it's that summer, that, that clear weather. It's awesome. But, I got to create relationships with coaches and like further my relationships with some coaches and make some connections with recruits. So it was a good trip.
So what are some of the things that stood out? Because we had Devin Hyatt on the show the other day, and one of the things that he talked about was a little Lego project that the coaches had you do, where you'd like build something. Or were there any points of the visit, whether it be that one or some of the other things that just really stood out to you that really made an impact for one reason or another?
I mean that Lego thing was pretty fun. I was actually partnered with Andrew Marsh. He's a dude. That was a cool experience, good team bonding experience. But it was kind of you don't really notice it when you're there. But my biggest, the coolest part about it all is usually at some schools you'll see position coaches only hang out with like their position guys, but even the defensive staff, I know it's all new from what Arizona was, mostly. But a lot of those guys, like you'll see Bill Belichick hanging out with like, all the offensive guys. Like you don't see that a lot in other programs, and it's just cool to see that bonding with all the coaches, all the players, it's pretty sweet.
So that leads me into my annoying, I have to ask because I'm a Patriots fan question. Yeah. Did you get a chance to talk to Steve Belichick, and what's that relationship like? Because one of the biggest things that we've been curious about over his first couple of months on the job has been just what he was going to be like as a recruiter.
Yeah. They talked about it a little bit on the trip, and they've been saying how he's been kind of getting out of his shell, when it comes to that kind of stuff. And no, he's I got to talk to him. He's a really cool dude. I got to hold his Super Bowl rings, was pretty sweet. But he's a good dude. He does good with recruiting, and he's definitely getting better at that aspect and stuff.
So is it true that some recruits, or you guys call him Baby Belichick? And second question on that, because I heard a couple of incoming players say that they ride with Baby Belichick. So I wasn't sure if that was a unilateral thing or just for certain players. And then obviously you mentioned Andrew Marsh. What was your role like in terms of you're already a quarterback commit, the coaching staff obviously is invested in you. How much kind of was there of, hey, like how much of it is like the coach is saying, hey, we want you to hang out with him, and then how much of it is you naturally just the type of person you are being drawn to, developing relationships pretty quickly with guys, whether they're on your team or not?
Oh yeah. First with the Belichick thing, I heard it a little bit, but not too much. I wasn't too familiar with that. That is funny though. With recruits, I was talking with Carroll and Dowdery, and they were telling me some guys they wanted me to, get to know and introduce and start a relationship. But for the most part, it was a great experience out there, and it was pretty easy to talk to some guys and create that bond. And I think I did pretty well and made some good relationships. Yeah.
So certainly Andrew Marsh is one of those guys that you want to come join you. But I know, you posted some pictures on social media with Chris Lawson and Phillip Bell. I'm assuming those are some of the other guys. What is kind of your sales pitch to get some of these guys to come join you?
It's all in the system, in the program. Coach Fisch says it all the time, to be a pro, and that's what you go to Washington for. You go to Washington to be a pro, and the amount of people that he puts into the next level, that he takes 3-star guys and puts them into the draft. That's kind of the stuff that I think players would be attracted to. And plus being able to play with that awesome staff and that amazing environment, there's nothing else you can beat, I think.
And how much of it for you is identifying guys that you want to play with? And when I say that, how many guys, since you made your commitment to Washington, have said, hey, you know what, if Dash likes what they're doing, maybe I should take a peek as well? Have you, as a recruit, gotten that kind of sense of where Washington stands with some other recruits? Obviously, I'm not asking you to speak on certain guys, but just in a general sense, have you kind of gotten that sense from players?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially after my commitment, a lot of guys that were kind of interested in them kind of reached out to me and were asking me some questions, which is awesome. And I'd be more than likely to answer them. And yeah, I mean, they knew who I was. So once I committed, they kind of had a little more questioning towards the school, and I gave them my honest opinion, and they liked it. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I got to circle back to one more thing on the official visit here, because it's the Lego thing. I really like that. I think that's a lot of fun. What did you build? Because Devin Hyde talked a lot about his project, what he and Smith Orogbo did. What did you and Andrew Marsh build?
Me and Andrew Marsh, we made it was kind of cool. We color coordinated it, and it was the letters PRO for pro, and then we put we made like it wasn't anything crazy, but we made a trophy that was pretty sweet. Just kind of understanding that, you know, being at Washington, you have a great chance of being a pro and being, you know, through that system, and that we have the main goal of winning a national championship and getting that trophy.
In a way, segueing off of the visit, because there's so many questions we could ask about the official visit. I have so many questions about the food budget. I will just die on the seafood hill.
That's something for sure. Yeah.
I was going to say, are you a big seafood guy? And completely separate from that, how would you describe your game as a quarterback? Because obviously you mentioned the fit of how well you like with the scheme that Coach Doherty and Coach Fisch run, but you as a quarterback, how do you feel, you know, your game kind of has developed and can continue developing with them?
Yeah, I mean, for my game, I'd say some of my biggest strengths are just my mobility and my arm strength. And I do show a lot of toughness when I play on and off the field, but I'm really definitely looking forward to just improvement coming here for sure. And I want to get more developed, and I see myself as a leader coming into this program. And right now, being at Mater Dei, it's a big step up kind of walking into a program like that, but I think I'm doing pretty well at the moment. Yeah.
So when you talking about your transfer to Mater Dei a little bit, obviously for anybody who isn't aware, it's one of the, I would say, top 5, top 10 just powerhouses when it comes to football in the country. And that's a pretty big step up for any quarterback, really. And so was that something that you wanted, that challenge? What were some of the reasons that went into your transfer?
Yeah, so at the start it was tough because, you know, I have a lot of respect for Chaparral and Coach Raymer and what they do. They treated me really well, but I just thought to myself that this would give me the ability to really prove like all that I have, and you know, being able to play against the best teams in the nation. I believe playing up to that speed, playing with the best defense. I mean, our defense is, I don't know any defense is better than our defense, and going against that in practice every single day is definitely going to get me better, you know. And being in that, you know, Big Ten QB room, I mean, I have to compete, and no doubt about that. And I think that'll really get me ready for it. That's the big reason why I went to Mater Dei.
So speaking of the Big Ten quarterback room, somebody who we've talked a lot about on the show over the last couple of months is Damon Williams. What's your relationship like with him?
I got to talk to him a little bit when I was on my visit. He's a super cool dude, really down to earth, super cool guy. Yeah. He. I remember him talking to Doherty just about practice the other day. He's so developed and he's so involved with football, and he wants to be the best, and that's what I want to compete against. So. Yeah.
And how does a quarterback kind of go about that? Because, you know, I remember, you know, Atlanta Falcons, and everybody was kind of surprised when Michael Penix goes and has to supposedly back up Kirk Cousins, but good players want to compete and play with good players. How do you balance that as a quarterback, knowing where, again, as a quarterback to a fellow quarterback, can respect how good one of each other is, but knowing you're still going to compete? How does a quarterback kind of balance that, just from an inside looking out perspective?
Right. I mean, I think one of the greatest keys to success is competition, and putting yourself in that situation is obviously only going to get you better, and overall the whole scheme of things is going to make your team better, you know. And I think that's the main goal when it comes to this sport, and this, like, having dedication to your team and say you're not the number one guy at the end of the day, but you're still pushing each other, making yourself and that other guy better, which obviously makes your team a lot better. So
we're going to take one more break. We've got to send a message to our good friends over at FanDuel, because summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. You can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and I know we're recording this a little bit early. It's pre-game for the NBA Finals, but I just want to say, and as Lars shakes his head, whatever, I do not care. I've been pumping the Celtics on this show for 3 months, whatever it is now, saying you need to get your bets in for them to win the NBA Finals on FanDuel. And I'm not jinxing anything, since again, this is before Game 4, but it's beautiful to watch what they're doing. Shout out to the Celtics. So Dash, let's talk a little bit more about you as a player. What would you say that some of your greatest strengths are on the football field?
Yeah, going back to it, I can already see it at Mater Dei right now. My mobility and my ability to move in the pocket, I think that's pretty strong. And my arm strength, I've always had a pretty strong arm, going through this high school journey, and I think it's only been getting better right now. And I'm just building myself from the bottom down, gonna just build my toughness and really build this leadership that I wanted to achieve and be able to take into Washington.
So you mentioned the leadership. Oh, sorry, Lars, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead on the leadership, because I have one thing to go after that. So I'll go on the leadership.
So with leadership, obviously, I'm sure that's something at Mater Dei. You want to make sure you can come in and just be somebody that the guys look up to in the locker room right away. What are some of the other things that you're trying to develop, whether it be on the field, off the field, before you get to Washington?
Things I'm trying to develop. I talk with one of my quarterback coaches about this kind of stuff, and it's not all centered on football related stuff. It's more lifestyle related stuff. And just things I'm trying to work on personally, just like, time management and just things of that nature. Like I want to get more strict on my diet. So I'm, eating healthier and that kind of aspect of it.
Can you send any of those diet tips you have my way? Like I'll go lift, I'll go do all that sort of stuff. And then I pound just like, a couple of donuts the minute I get home. That's something I'm right with you there, man. I totally get that.
Yeah. That's a big part about, especially being an athlete. And if I can really lock in on that aspect and really focus on, I'm doing pretty good in the weight room right now as well. So just keep that going for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, when Coach Owen sends you the workout routine, can you just kick that to me just when you get a chance? Like, I'm going to try like half of it and see how quickly I die. But one thing that I wanted to follow up on, and we joked about this beforehand, that I would FaceTime a certain coach, but your future coaches do have a type when it comes to quarterback. Have you gotten that sense? And what is it about kind of this modern age of quarterbacks, where being 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot isn't necessarily the knock that it used to be?
Right. Yeah. You said it yourself. Growing up, it's always been the taller guy, taller, lengthy guy is going to be the quarterback. But as years gone by, you see a lot of guys, especially in the NFL nowadays, like Tua and Bryce Young, that are barely above 6 foot, and that's kind of where I stand. I'm just like, I'm 6'1". I think that's where I'm at right now, and I think it's definitely different from what it used to be, but we definitely have an advantage with mobility and seeing the field, and we can still do all the same stuff that all those taller guys can do as well. And it's cool that Dowdy you can kind of tell that they're not scared to recruit smaller quarterbacks, and that's awesome to see. And I'm grateful for the opportunity from him. Yeah.
So what is it about mobile quarterbacks and this offense specifically that makes it work? Because we've seen them just, run a lot of kind of sprint out stuff with DeMond. There's a lot of stuff to make sure that he's using his legs and still trying to find a way to push the ball downfield at the same time. Do you think that it's something that fits your skill set really well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing that all my season. Like every 3 years that I've been playing, that's been one of my main strengths playing football. Just being able to make one play. Say a play breaks down, you have to do something to either get out of the pocket or roll out, or even on a rollout play that's already made. I know I have the ability to do that stuff, and it's really important to have that ability because that's what makes like football teams great. You know?
You mentioned a couple of quarterbacks in the last couple of interviews, last couple of questions. Is there any one particular, maybe one or two guys that you've molded your game after, or at least kind of not idolize, but take some stuff from?
Yeah. Growing up, I'd say my idol, especially in the quarterback position, was always Russell Wilson. He's again also one of the smaller guys that played in the NFL, but he was still at his prime. He was mobile and still able to do all the stuff that a quarterback needs to do, and that's kind of where I molded my game around.
That's something that, a couple of years ago, that would have been the greatest thing that anybody in Seattle could ever hear.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure who your favorite team is, but it certainly is.
All my life.
What's that?
I've been a Seahawks fan all my life, so it's pretty cool.
Okay. So, all right, we're going to have to go off of that then. Who are some of your favorite Seahawks outside of Russell Wilson?
Oh man, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Tyler Lockett. The way oh my gosh, he's so good. The way it's just his ability to like, have you seen all those toe cat? Oh my gosh, it's crazy. He's a dude for sure. And then DK is he's just oh my gosh, he's a good player.
So if you had to pick, I'm going to put you on the spot right here. If you had to pick one wide receiver in the NFL to throw passes to tomorrow, who would it be?
I gotta go with DK. No, DK. He can pretty much do it all, and he's so strong. He can do it all.
I like that. It's a good answer.
Yeah.
So where did that? How did you become a Seahawks fan? When did that origin start? Was it a game that you came out for? Or is this a family that got you interested, or was it a player?
So growing up, I had a neighbor, and he was from Spokane, and yeah, I would always go over to his house, and his dad had this Seattle garage all decked out with a bunch of cool stuff from like memorabilia and all that kind of good stuff, and we'd always watch the games there. And it's always sparked an interest in me, and then I've watched them so much that I just fell in love with them, especially like the Legion of Boom era. That era was some special. And that's what my favorite number is, 3, because of Russell Wilson.
So would you say that this is all just kind of come full circle then, yeah?
That's almost what it feels like, and even through this recruiting journey, I'd say my top 3 schools were Washington, Utah, and Arizona at the time. And when I saw some of these schools got commits, I was like, I probably should find a place to go. That's why I went to Arizona. But one of my real choice is really Washington. Like it really stood out, especially after that game. That was really game changer for me in the recruiting aspect. And it's kind of crazy how it did come full circle, because now I'm at the school that I wanted to be with the coaching staff that I love. So it all turned out great.
That's awesome.
This comes full circle when we find out that the Spokane native happened to be Paul Menke's dad. That wasn't the case, but I'm just going to guarantee that's the fact. So last couple of questions. This is one thing I know that I asked you a couple of times, but what is kind of your dream for Washington 5 years from now? What are they saying about Dash Beierly's time at Washington 5 years from now?
I mean, they're seeing a guy that came through from, Mater Dei High School, which is pretty sweet, and being able to compete and make the guys around him better through my years here, and hopefully saying that he's entered the draft, which that would be awesome. But just having a lot of respect for me and my game and how good of a teammate I am, because that's how I see myself, a pretty good teammate. And I just want to make the guys around me better.
Oh,
Is there? I got another one, and you can take this how you want. Is there any recruits that Washington should be keeping an eye on in 25 or 26? I will save you so that way I won't put you totally on the spot and say who's the next to commit. But who are some guys that you know for sure that Washington fans should be keeping an eye on in both classes?
I have a couple guys for the 25 class that I've been, reaching out to, and definitely want to get these guys to Washington. But John Mills is really he's a big part, and he's a great player. There's guys like Chris Lawson, obviously Andrew Marsh, who I talked about earlier. Tight end Vander Plug, he's a dude, and I know he's I'm not gonna say much, but he's pretty close to making a decision. So hopefully it's Washington. And Dylan Robinson, I got to see him over that weekend. He's a really solid guy. Yeah, and I definitely gonna, talk to, especially at the school I'm at now, who produce great athletes. I'm gonna definitely be in their ear about Washington. Just let them know that this is a place where they want to be.
So last thing for me, for all those guys that you just named, and even some ones you might not have, 30-second pitch, you say it's going to come down to one thing, and you got 30 seconds to say, all right, I'm going to get you to commit to Washington. What is it that you're going to tell
them? I just want them to know that, I'm here. I'm fully committed. Washington is where I want to be, where you should be. And I just want you to know that I will put 110% effort into this program. And I know players are scared about having, who's going to be the quarterback, who's the quarterback commit. And I just want you to know that, I'm here 100%, and I'm going to give it my all, and I want to make you better. I want to make the whole team better. I want to go win a championship with you guys.
Last question for me. Have you talked to Tristan at all? Because I know you committed first, he committed second. Did you have any conversations with him before or after he committed?
Not really, no. I talked to him a little bit, but yeah, not too much. I'm definitely gonna reach out to him though about it. That's pretty sweet. Yeah.
And I was gonna say, just kind of in a side, we have that just to make clear, there was no issue at all. I'm assuming you kind of knew with the way the room is stacked up that the coaches might take a second quarterback in the class. That wasn't a concern for you at all.
Yeah, no. Especially with what's going on. They only have next year. They're going to have one guy on. One guy, and it's college. That's how it is. And as I said earlier, him coming is just gonna make both of us better. It's gonna make us compete in that QB room, and I'm excited.
Dash, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. Lars, as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all the everydayers for tuning in. We really do appreciate your support. We've got so much more fun stuff coming up like this, so make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. We're there. We're everywhere, updating the channel 3 times a week with new content. Make sure you click that bell so you never miss when we post a new bonus video with any breaking news, anything like that. Make sure you like the video. Comment down below if you have any questions, comments, concerns, who you want to see next on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will talk to you on Wednesday.